Yo, 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 what's going on, everybody? My name is Rob Carmona, and welcome back to another episode of Rob the Mic. Thank you guys for all the love on last week's episode, and thank you for the continued support through the new platform, jumping over onto the TikTok side. It's been a learning process. I'm trying to get better at it and continue working my way through that, but it's been a really great experience so far. The interactions, the comments, the shares, it's really cool to see that certain messages that I can pull away from these episodes and these little clips that they can get shared and saved and they're actually being used, because it makes me feel like as much as this helps me, like I've told you guys before, like this is another form of therapy. It also really seems to be helping people that are out there, and it's really cool to experience that. And I'm very thankful. Very, very thankful to be in the position that I'm in and to be able to create content like this for you guys. So thank you for always supporting me. And for this week's episode, I kind of wanted to talk about a few things, what went down over the weekend and what's transpired into this week. It's been a little bit of a rough week, I can say, but we're getting through it. We're halfway through. Hopefully the rest of the week goes a little smooth, or a little smoother, I should say. And, let's get into it. So over the weekend, I was able to get some fresh air, which was very much needed. Albert actually ended up hitting me up. It was like Thursday, Friday, something like that. And he was asking me what I had going on Saturday. And I had some plans, but they were kind of up in the air and nothing was like super solid. And he ended up hitting me up on Friday. So we talked again. And he's like, hey, so what's the deal for Saturday? I said, you know what? What's up? What do you want to do? He's like, let's get lost. So where are we going? He's like, don't worry about it. Just be here at a certain time. And that's it. I was like, okay, cool. So got up early Saturday, got ready, made my way down there. And when I got to his place, he's like, okay, cool. We're going to head out to Arrowhead. And I was like, all right, right on. So for those of you guys who don't know, Arrowhead is a lake that's out here. And it's a lot of people tend to run to Big Bear, which is really cool. It's a bigger spot, bigger lake. Just, I guess it's a lot more well-known. Arrowhead isn't too well-known. So they actually have really cool stuff down there between like restaurants and just kind of being able to walk around and enjoy yourself. And one thing that they also have during this time of the year is Oktoberfest. And I personally have never been to an Oktoberfest. I'm not the biggest beer drinker, to be 100% honest. I'm more on the liquor side. So it's not like, it's not an event that I go running to every year to be like, oh yeah, cool. Like, let's go get a bunch of beers and just chill out. Like, it's not really my thing. Don't get me wrong. I'll have a beer every now and then, but it's not something that I run to. But for this, it's something that he really enjoys. Like, Albert really enjoys going to Oktoberfest. And I think he just likes the vibe of it all and the overall, just the look and feel of it. And now that I've been, like, I understand. Because it was really cool. It was really, really cool. Very positive. Everyone's super warm. And everyone's there to have a good time. That's the other nice thing, too. So it's like, as a whole, the experience was really great. But getting able to go with Albert and Yessie to go experience this for my first time was great. And the best part about it is just being out in nature. And it's one thing, I know I talked to you guys about it too, especially recently with my Jeep trip that I took with Sebastian. It's one thing to be in the desert. That kind of nature is really cool. But where I feel at home is in the forest. You put me in the mountains and you put me in surrounded by trees, I'm 100% okay. Like, you can just leave me there. It's fine. You don't have to worry about anything. I'll be all right. And I had felt like as soon as we got lakeside, I don't know. I just felt like I was at home. It felt like I could breathe. It felt like I was okay for a second. And I haven't felt like that in a while. Like, not even when I went to the desert. It's just, again, they're two completely different spaces. I feel two completely different things being in the desert versus being in the forest. And just the forest feels like home. So it was nice to kind of take in those deep breaths and just look at the water and look at all the little duckies swimming around and checking out the fish and just being with my homies, laughing, smiling, making memories. It was a really beautiful thing that I haven't experienced in a long time. And granted, I've been trying to insert more of these moments, but I think it's hard for me to do it on my own. And it's really rad to have people around me that can kind of insert that into my life, because I can't insert it myself. Like, for example, I would have never turned around and been like, hey, I'm going to go to Arrowhead on Sunday or on Saturday and go enjoy myself and go do whatever I want to do. Not that, like, it's not something that I would turn around and go do because I forget about it. It's not that it's super close for me, but it's a lot further away for me than it is for Albert, for example. So for him to head up there, it's closer. It's a little more convenient, and it's an option versus for me, I kind of have to set apart, a couple hours for the trip and make this happen. But it's just not something that I run to. But the fact that he did, because of him, I was able to have the experience that I did. And I'm really thankful for that. And the laughs that were shared, the experiences that were had, it's something that I'll never forget. Because I've never gone to, for example, like a pizza place. I love pizza, which for those of you who know, you already know. If you don't know, now you know. I love pizza. It's definitely a number one in my life. But I've never had pizza in a place that overlooks a lake. So I was able to sit there with my friends, enjoy really great music, enjoy really great times, great food. And I'd look behind me and there's the lake right there and there's trees everywhere. And I felt like I was in my element again. It was beautiful. But at the same time, what was really hard about it is just is being in that space, trying to take it all in and constantly, in a sense, being reminded that it's just me right now. That, I don't have my person. I don't have a person right now. So as much as I was like trying my best, and for a certain period of time, I really was able to fully enjoy myself, but I couldn't help but have this like thought in the back of my mind. That's just like, damn, like you're very much alone right now. As much as you're with your homies and this whole experience is great, like you're very much alone right now. And it sucks having those kind of reminders. And it's not their fault, right? This is a personal thing that I'm dealing with. But it didn't hit me really. Well, it hit me as we were walking around, just kind of taking in the sights and things like that, because I would have very much liked to share that experience with somebody. But we were looking out at the water. Everyone's out on their boats. It's a beautiful day, and everyone, different kinds of boats, like from big boats, small boats, everything, And there was like these little, it's hard to explain. I'm trying to think of like how you really explain them, but they're like smaller bodied boats. They have V8s in them usually. Everybody's cruising around on the water, chilling. But it's like the person driving their boat and their partner right next to him. And I love boats. I do. It's one of the things I really have a lot of love for. And it was tough being out there because I'm like trying to enjoy myself, trying to look at these boats, trying to look at all this. And again, it would still hit me where I'm like, damn, dude, all these people out here just living their best lives with their person. And I have to, this is something that I'm having to deal with, right? Like I have to slowly start walking away from the idea of, not that I need to have somebody there, but I'm having to enjoy all these things by myself, enjoy all these things on my own. Because as much as I was doing that for a while, there also was a period of time and like in the recent where I wasn't like having those moments. I was enjoying those moments with somebody in the picture. But now I'm back, not to square one, but I'm back to being solo again. And it's hard. It's a hard transition. It's not fun. And I know I've talked about it quite a bit on the podcast, and I'm sure some people are probably tired of it. Like, damn, dude, like you've already talked about this before. And I get it. It's cool. You don't have to listen. You don't have to tune into this part, but it's a thing that I have to work through daily. Some days things feel a little bit easier. Some days I don't feel so lonely. And then there's some days where it hits me like a fucking ton of bricks. And it didn't hit me like a ton of bricks until Sunday. So the next day, I started to feel it more so on the way home on Saturday, because I had a lot of time to think on the way bound from the mountain. And one of the last times I was up there and I was driving back down that same way, I wasn't alone in my truck. So it's hard having to go to places and like reprocess memories and put new memories in those places, because it's not like you're trying to erase them, but it's hard putting something else in its place. And right now I'm not there. So when I'm in those moments, I very much take myself back and I'm like, oh man, I get really down about it. And I'm sure a lot of you know what I'm talking about, because I mean, it's something that we all, maybe not all of us, but a lot of us have experienced, where you're going to new places and you're having to kind of rewrite memories and put new memories in those places and things like that, you know? And you're not trying to erase them, but you're trying to put other memories there as well. And it was nice to have this experience, because now going up to Arrowhead and just kind of being there, I was able to put a new memory there, or new memories, because there's multiple that I'm able to put there. And I have photos and videos and things like that. And I'm able to kind of look back on that stuff. And, even on that front, I was talking about this with a friend recently, and we were talking about documenting everything and how important it is. And I think we forget a lot, because like we document like what we're doing, but we don't document the people that we're with. And I feel like the generations before us, like our parents, our grandparents, they always had cameras for the most part. If they were able to have one, especially coming around like, the 80s, 90s, that whole era was very much like shoot everything, whether it's on video or camera, like photo, anything like that, shoot it, shoot everything. Have memories of everything. And I'm starting to kind of gain that understanding once again, and understand how important it is to be able to go back and look and have reference to situations, because it's cool, to be able to do that. So I'm trying to implement that more into my life. And that was something I was able to practice on Saturday. And I'm really thankful to do that, because now, let's say fast forward 10 years, I don't know where I'm going to be in 10 years. I don't know what my situation's going to be. I don't know anything. But to be able to come back and reference this type of stuff 10 years from now is going to be something really special to be able to share with people around me. Not just my partner, if I am with someone, but literally anyone. Just to be able to share these experiences. Like, oh, dude, one time I went to go have pizza with my homies, and we were sitting over a lake, and check it out, this is the view. Or like, look, one time we went to this Oktoberfest, and like, look, this is the one picture that we got, this and that. So I'm trying my best to write things a little differently with what happens next in my life. I'm really trying my best. And as hard as it is, I gotta keep it moving, even if it's slowly, incrementally. As long as I'm moving forward, I feel like I'm making progress. And at the same time, coming over the hump of the weekend, I knew this week was going to be a little more on the difficult side. I didn't know how difficult it was going to be until it kind of set in and it hit home. Yesterday I had a funeral. It was for my Uncle Carlos, who passed. And I was trying to get mentally prepared for it. There was only so much I could do. I was okay for the most part. And then there were certain moments within the funeral that I just couldn't hold it together. Couldn't do it. I was trying my best to be strong and stand there and just be as stoic as possible. And I couldn't. And it sucked. I don't have another word for it. It sucked. It was tough to watch certain family have to process this. What I didn't like also was that so many of the family that was there, they were also at my aunt's funeral that just happened recently, and it was at the same chapel. So we all said hello, right? And it was pretty much the same thing across the board. Like, why are we back here? Why are we in the same place again that we were just here a few weeks ago? Why are we getting together again for something like this? Like, it was really sad. And it's like, damn, dude, like, you hear it a lot, right? Especially in situations like this, like, oh, we got to get together for something more positive. We got to change this up. And we do. I think as a family, especially on that side, it's not my blood family, but it's my family. It's like my married into family, because it's my grandfather's side, and my grandfather's not my blood. He married my grandma, which my grandma is my blood. So she is my grandma, and he is also my grandfather, but like married into the family. So it's this death comes from like his side, right? And I was talking to a couple cousins, couple aunts, uncles, and I'm like, yeah, dude, like, honestly, we got to do more. We got to do better. We got to make more of an effort, not just for holiday parties, for whatever. Like, there shouldn't need to be a reason why people get together. And I think this is in general, not just for family. I think with homies, with anything, you also don't have to wait until the weekend. Sometimes it's nice to go have dinner on a Wednesday. Sometimes it's nice to go have dinner on a Tuesday. Go get lunch if you can. Whatever the situation may be. I think just go do it. I don't think we need to continue waiting for the weekend, because living for the weekend, like, you're wasting your life already. You got days that you could have been hanging out with homies, family, making memories, but you're sitting there waiting for it. Like, why wait for it when you can create those moments now, right? But yesterday, man, I think I gained a lot of perspective overall from yesterday. And I'm trying, even right now, because granted it's very fresh, it just happened. I'm trying to still process everything. I probably will be for the next probably a couple of weeks, to be honest. But I know for sure for the rest of this week, I'll be really in my head about it. The gained perspective is worth so much. So much. And that's a part of what I wanted to talk to you guys about, I guess. The mourning and the perspective, and how there's so many different aspects of it that tend to get walked over, and maybe not so much walked over, but maybe not thought about fully. And just mourning in general, and like how different it is for all of us, and like the stages of it, and how we can kind of like circle between all these different stages. It's not just like one, it's not linear. I think healing, mourning, all of that is not linear. I think you can kind of constantly bounce around. And I think that's a part of it, until you no longer need to visit a certain part, or no longer need to bounce back to a certain part. You just kind of continue going up the totem pole. But another thing that made it really tough too, yesterday when I got home, the day's all done. I get here, I'm trying to decompress. And then I open up Instagram and I see the details for nose services. So Waxer, which I know I've talked about him quite a bit. For those of you guys who don't know, this is your first time tuning in, Waxer is, I'd say, a buddy of mine. He recently passed, and is a part of a lowrider team called Genocide, which I'm a massive fan of. I've shot a lot of their cars at events that I've gone to, shot video, had the opportunity to do these things for them and with them. So I'm very thankful for that. Met a lot of great people because of them. But coming home from a funeral and being in this space, and then getting news of his funeral, like when the actual date was, which those of us who know about his situation, we've all kind of been waiting for the details. So it was a matter of time. We knew it was going to happen, but I didn't know it was going to happen yesterday. So that wasn't a fun pill to swallow. So I have my arrangements. I have everything ready for that day. But it's really tough, because that also gave me some perspective too, where it's like things are continuously moving, and you have a choice to shut down or continue moving forward. And it's how you move forward, right? But one of the points of perspective, and this also makes me think of now too, but one of the points of perspective that I got heavy yesterday was being reminded of the love that my uncle and his wife had. And it's like, if it's not like that, like, why even entertain it? And I think that's been a really big one on the forefront, right? Even since Noah's passing, since my uncle Alfredo's passing, to be honest with you. So going back to July, this has been a really big idea. And I know I've talked about it quite a bit. I've talked about it regarding Noah too. But if the love isn't something that is so strong, if it's not so powerful, then why even be in it, right? Why would you want someone to give you less than everything that they've got? If it's not 110%, if it's not 200%, if it's not the highest of what can be received, why are you not receiving that? So for this situation with my Uncle Carlos, who just passed, he would have been married on November 11th. He would have been married to his wife, Katie, for 73 years. 73 years. Let that sink in for a minute, because I don't know if there's many people out there who can say that they've been married for 70 plus years. So if you haven't heard that before, you're welcome, because I think it's a gift to be able to hear that love existed and still exists, because their love isn't gone, but that a marriage existed for this amount of time. It's possible. That kind of love is very much possible. It's a beautiful thing to be able to witness what they had. And I think to a certain extent, we still get to witness certain things, because yesterday my aunt wasn't there. My aunt Katie was not at the funeral. And I know certain people were kind of making faces about it, making certain comments. Oh, like asking, "Where's Katie? Where's Katie? Where's Katie?" And then eventually when my aunt went up and spoke about the situation, why she wasn't there, why she couldn't attend, I think people, it started to hit them. And they were like, damn, they felt kind of dumb. And they should. They should feel really dumb about it, because the person that she loved and loves, I'm not going to say loved, because she loves him. She's never going to stop loving him. But for 72, almost 73 years, let's just chalk it up to 73 years of her life, married to this man, loving this man, being there for every step of the way with everything that ever happened between them. Even when things got really rough between them, they stuck it out as a couple and they made it happen. Ended up making a beautiful family. And she couldn't bear to be there. She couldn't bear to turn around and see her husband in a box, because shortly before, he was here with us. Was he ill? Yeah, of course. He was very ill. Very, very ill. But we were having conversation and laughing and sharing more memories and creating more memories there, to all of a sudden not being here. And she can't stomach that right now. I don't know how one is supposed to how they're supposed to deal with that. I don't know. But all I knew is that I understood. I understood 110%. And every chance I got when I was talking to people about certain things, and let's say they would mention Katie, to come to her defense right away, because she is an amazing woman. And now the love of her life is no longer next to her. So she feels as if her life is over. And that's what her daughter said. My mom feels like her life is over. Because again, a part of her heart is missing now. A part of her soul is missing now. And I don't think people really understand the gravity of that. And I think this is why I talk about love so much on this show, because of how important it is to me and how much it means to me. And because of the amount of perspective that I've gained the last few months on love. So it's like, if it's really not like that, I'm going to ask you to please kindly exit stage left. Please find the nearest exit and do yourself a favor and just go. And it might be a lot for some people, but maybe it's just right for others. Because I think to a certain extent, I think experiencing that level of love is a gift. And I think a lot of us, some of us will experience it, some of us won't. I think the extent of that love is always very, very unknown. It's very question marks everywhere. But this isn't a show just about love, right? It happens to be driven by love, for sure, because it's a big part of me. I'm a romantic. So when I see situations like this, it breaks my heart, and it also drives me, for sure, to strive to find something incredible like that one day in my life. And I really do hope that at some point I get to experience something as incredible as what they had. To make memories, to have a family, and to share it with family and friends and everything around us, because it's really something amazing. It's been a long time since I've been to a funeral and seen that many people there. So that was very overwhelming too. But the one thing that everybody said is that's going to be the hardest part, is just kind of witnessing Katie do life on her own and Carlos not be there, and it's rough. I don't mean to get like super, super down on you guys and like sound like really sad, but it is a very sad situation. But again, being able to have witnessed that kind of beauty and that kind of love, I'm very, very fortunate. And again, I hope that you guys at some point will get to see it. I hope you'll get to experience it, because it's something so special. But I think what's really important to talk about is perspective shifting, and what I like to call perspective shifting, and like what it can do and what it does as a whole. Because I think we have the choice. When certain situations are presented to us, we have the choice to look at it in different ways, right? But shifting the perspective is everything. You can look at any situation, be negative and or positive about it, right? You choose. You choose. You're going to choose what path. But you can sit there, for example, after a funeral and be insanely sad. Granted, for a lot of us, I think that's our normal reaction, right? You're going to be sad. You're going to be broken about it. And it's good to sit in that. I think it's very important to sit in that for a while. But I think it's also important to look at the other side of it, right? So in this sense, some of the perspective that I gained from yesterday was that I'm still here. I still have a chance every single day to do something. Big, small, anything. I have a chance to talk to the people I love every single day. So I do that. I do my utmost, like the highest of the power that I have, to speak to everyone that I love and that I care about as much as I can, right? Because I still have that. I'm still here today. So the perspective has given me the sense of like being thankful and just being here, being in the moment, making the memories. Again, recording everything, pictures of it all. But there's another way to look at stuff too, right? And it's, again, it depends how you look at it. But shifting the way you look at things, sometimes zooming out is all it needs, right? I feel like a lot of us, we tend to be zoomed in on these images and we get really fixated on certain parts. If you just zoomed out and you stepped back, you'd have a completely different look on things. Completely different look. And, and I even the perspective I gained this past weekend being out in the mountains, it made me feel so small. And I always feel like everything is so big around me. And for the first time in a while, I felt so small because these trees are massive. This body of water that I'm looking at is massive. And if I was to jump into that lake, I'm but a speck compared to the gravity of what's around me. And this kind of situation too, I think funerals tend to bring a lot of perspective, but they remind us that we are literally a speck in this life, in everyone's life. So how are you going to look at that? What are you going to do with the time that you have that's right here? You going to make the best of it, or are you going to sit there and you're going to fuck it off the entire time? I'm pretty sure most of us would probably want the latter, right? We're going to do our best to live our best lives, to make these memories and continue forward. And the hard part too is, at the same time of gaining this perspective, is having to deal with the grief of it all. Because I think the impact that grieving or not grieving, I think the impact of that is really insane. And I think for the most part, you should grieve. Grieve anything that you need to. If somebody passes, that's something to grieve. It's something to sit with and understand and process the fact that this person that was here is no longer there, right? And what your life, depending on the impact of this person, like what your life is going to be like now that they are not here, and to process that grief and allow yourself time to grieve as well. So I think sometimes, depending on the situation, you don't always have time to grieve. You don't always have the time to sit there and be sad because things got to be done, right? Like I've seen that in the last few months from different family members having to process different things and not having the time to grieve because maybe they got to deal with the insurance agencies. Maybe they got to deal with credit cards. Maybe they got to deal with taxes and all these things of the person who's passed, of assets, of wills, of anything like that. So they don't have the time to be sad. They don't have the time to process, but they got to sit there and make it happen. So you got to push it down a little bit, but it's always good. As hard as it is, you got to dig that up. Dig that up and sit there and look at it. Sit in it. Process it, because if you don't, it just sits buried there. And it's kind of like when you put stuff in an attic, right? You put it away and it's out of your house. It's out of your house, right? Because it's not where you can see it, but it's there. It's up there. You put it away. And one day when you're going to go through a cleaning process again, and you're like, you know what? Hey, we got to go clean the attic. You're going to go into the attic. You're going to start unboxing stuff. Memories are going to start coming back, and you're going to come across that box. And it's going to hit you like a ton of bricks. It could have happened years ago, and it's still going to hit you as if it happened yesterday. Why? Because you never gave yourself the time to grieve. You never gave yourself the time to process that. So do yourself a favor. As painful as it is, process it. Sit there with that grief, because I can promise you, doing the latter And not dealing with it is going to hurt you more than anything that you could imagine. And that pain is going to feel like a tsunami. It's going to hit you like you're not even going to be able to stand. I promise that. You won't. And there's so many different ways to cope with it. There's so many different ways to deal with it. And I think if you personally don't have the network, if you don't have the bandwidth, reach out to those around you. Reach out to your homies, reach out to families, reach out to your partners if you're still lucky enough to have them in your life. Husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever it may be. Whoever the person may be. Ask for help. If you can't deal with it alone, ask for help. And if you don't have that network, there's therapy, right? Like, for example, for myself, I have my network, but I also have my therapist. Like, if it wasn't for having my therapist, I think right now where I'd be is a very, very different place. I'm not saying my therapist completely changed my life, but what I am saying is that therapy as a whole has definitely helped me to become a better version of myself. Definitely. The way I communicate, the way I process my emotions, the way I just kind of navigate life right now is very different to compare to before I started therapy. So, and even, helping me to process my grief, like my therapist helps me a lot with that. My anger towards certain things, all of that within the subject and the realm of grief. Because he understands that. That's his profession. That's his job. So he helps me. He guides me through these kind of like really dark paths that I end up on. And it's like, dude, it's okay. So if you don't have the resources available to you, you don't have the friends, you don't have the family, there's nothing wrong with that. But there are people out there who can help. And again, for those of you guys who are curious about therapy, please feel free to reach out to me. Send me a message, a text, a phone call, whatever, anything. Please do not hesitate to ask me questions about it. I will do everything in my power to help guide you guys in whatever I can help guide you with. And if you want to try something like with what I'm doing, like go through BetterHelp, check it out. You guys are more than free, more than welcome to check it out for yourselves, do some research, look at the things, read about like what the company is, what they do. I can give you my testament on what it's done for me. If you guys want to try it out and you're curious, you can use, this isn't some sort of plug. So, mind you, I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that, but I do have an affiliate link. If you go to the link in my bio, it'll give you guys 2 free weeks. That way you can kind of dip your toes in the water and see what's up. If it's something that you want to check out, talk to somebody. You never know. It might help out, but it's really healthy and it's really important to process those feelings and process those emotions, whether someone's passed or, dude, honestly, I think a really hard one too is grieving the loss of someone who's still alive. I think when you have, for example, a breakup and that person, obviously that person is alive, but they have, let's say, moved on. They're in another relationship. They're out living their life. You're grieving the loss of this person. This person went from being in your life every single day. Every single day. You guys spoke day in and day out, sun up to sundown. And now this person has a hard stop, no longer in your life, depending on the situation. Granted, for some people, it's a blessing to no longer have this person because there's some scummy people out there. Let's be 100% honest. You know what I mean? Some scummy ass people out there. And some people really are better off without those partners. And shouts to the ones that, are strong enough to walk away. That's what's up. My hat's off to you guys. And there's some people who just end up in a situation where, let's say they get blindsided and just that person isn't there anymore. You're grieving the loss of someone who is still alive, which is a weird one because you're like, I know they're there, but they're not here. They're just not here. They could be, but they're not. And you have to allow yourself time to grieve that too, because I think grieving that kind of loss is a very different kind of grief, but it also still sits within that realm of death because you're losing someone. You're losing someone. And for some people, you might never see these people again. So it really is like you're losing them for the rest of your life. And it's a tough pill to swallow. I personally don't like it. I hate it. I hate being in this grieving process for multiple reasons, for people that I've lost to death, people that I've lost in general. And I mean, I can't even say people, but like a person, right? Because of my last relationship. Grieving that loss has been gut-wrenching. Grieving the loss of my family members has been gut-wrenching. Completely and entirely. And I hate it that I'm having to grieve them simultaneously. But I know that at the end of this process, whenever this process does come to an end, I know that I will be a better person because of it, because I will have processed these emotions. I will have given myself the time, and I continue to give myself the time every single day. Because even if it's momentarily for a little bit, I always make sure and allow my time to do that. And when I do feel it, I don't push it away. I kind of let it wash over me while I can, because again, I don't want to just put it in the attic and let it go away. And then eventually I'm going to find it and it ruins me. Because you hear about it time and time again, right? With different people, different things, how they end up in therapy. Oh, they put this trauma away and 10, 15 years go by and they didn't deal with it. And now it's resurfacing. That's what I don't want to happen. I don't want to process the death of my uncles 10 years from now. I want to do it now so that later on I can be able to help the people around me, and I can talk about these situations in a healthy way, what these people meant, what these people did for me, versus being angry about it or still being completely wrecked to the point where I can't even speak about it. I can't even speak their name. That's what I don't want. And I know with the different ways of cope, right? Like coping with this, like with death and with loss and all this, there's so many outlets you can run to. I think one that's really important that I've been running to a lot lately is like mourning through art and like finding, finding the light within that. Because me refocusing on my art through all of this loss has been the best thing for me. And it's not even just one form of art, right? But I know a lot of the art that I've been posting has been through photography and video work. So those things, they've really kept me centered. And they've, like we talked about last week, right? Like set a new foundation for me. And I've been able to kind of set a path to walk on. And it makes me feel strong. It makes me feel capable. It makes me feel okay, because I know, for example, my Uncle Alfredo, he knew how much I loved media and how much I loved design and all these things. And I know he would have pushed for me to continue forward. Like, don't stop creating. It's not about creating for me, but don't stop creating. Keep it moving. Same thing with Waxer's passing. Waxer was an artist himself. And I know if he was to see the art that I'm creating today, that he'd be so stoked about it. Seeing the pictures that I've been posting and the stuff that I've been working on, that I know if he was to see them, that he'd be like, this is it, dude. This is it. Like, keep it moving for me and don't stop. Don't stop. So I can't, because a part of me this is helping me heal. And I feel like I'm also able to carry these things with me, these people with me through this process. Like, I have their support. I have this like weird looming feeling that I have support from somewhere, from someone, even if they're not here. And I love that I've I just kind of nosedive like right back into this. And I've been trying to be consistent with it. I'm trying to get to this point where I'm posting 3 times a week, that I'm sharing my work. It feels good to to get out of my comfort zone, because I create a lot of things and I just put them away. I put them up in my attic. I don't look at them. I work and put all this time into these things and I just throw it away. And I'm like, okay, it's going to just sit there. For what? I want to share this stuff with you guys the same way that I do these podcasts. I want to have these tough conversations. I want to go through these moments because it helps me process things. And sharing my work, it makes me feel happy because it's something positive. It's something great. I get to show you guys what life looks like through my eyes. And that's what I want to do, is share a different perspective, share a new perspective to show what this is. So I get to mourn through my art and mourn through the time when I'm editing and mourn through the time when I'm making and working with my hands. It helps me feel, it helps me process. So there's so many different ways to cope, you guys. Find different things. Again, whether it's a hobby, whether it's something else. You want to try cooking, go cook, like I talked about last week. You want to try baking, go bake. Because working with your hands, putting yourself in these different processes, maybe going on a hike, these things will help you think about everything that's gone down. We need time. We got to make the time. You have to make the time, because if you don't make the time, nobody's going to make it for you. We got to remember that. Nobody can fix your problems for yourself but you. That's it. You're the only one. You're the captain of your ship. So take hold of the wheel and go where you got to go. If you know your healing path is down a certain way, roll down there. Roll down there. Go through the process. Feel it. Go through the motions. And I think another really important thing, which I know I kind of touched on, right? Which is, I think the power of nature and the healing power that it has more specifically, because going back to my example with Saturday, right? Like how good it felt to be there. How good it felt to be surrounded by green, by fresh air, by these trees, by the water. That's what I needed. That's what my soul needed. And the best part about it is it wasn't even something that I knew for myself, but it was something that my brother was able to turn around and say, this is what you need. Albert was able to turn around and say, this is what you need. And I got you. I got exactly what you need right here. Took me up there, dropped me off on the water and said, right? And he knew it. Because he knows these things. He knows these things about me. He knows where I'm at. He knows where I feel at home. But I realize that I need more of these adventures. And I think a lot of us need this perspective, this specific natural perspective. Put yourself in this situation. You know, you're in the desert. Go just kind of be there. Take it all in. Look at how small you are next to these mountains that are towering over you in the distance. Look at how far this land spreads out, and just kind of sit there and be like, damn, dude, like I'm a speck in this whole thing. Sometimes we need that, but there's something so beautiful about it that's re-energizing about it. And again, for myself, the forest, what it gives me is unbelievable. It's out of this world what it gives me. What the desert gives me is something different. And it's also beautiful. So, you know, shouts to Sebastian for giving me that experience recently too. Because going on that off-roading trip, it was more than just, you know, rock crawling with a bunch of Jeeps. I feel like I was kind of rock crawling through my head a little bit. You know, I was bouncing back and forth between being sad and being cool, being sad, being cool. And when I got to just kind of walk around and just look at stuff and take pictures, and it was tight. It was tight to feel that, and to feel that, just let nature kind of do its thing on me. Look at the rock, look at the different color, look at the shades, look at all this stuff. The same way I'd look at the trees on Saturday, the same way I just kind of took in the sounds, the birds, all that stuff. Because nature has a way of finding itself within you. I think we all have these moments. I've talked about this collectively with multiple people. When you put yourself in nature and you really put yourself there, you will almost feel like, as much as like you're gaining so much from the experience, almost more than you can give, right? Because going to nature, it's almost like you can't really give too much to nature, but nature can give you so much. And sometimes it's the perspective that it gives you. Sometimes it's the love that it gives you. Sometimes it's the nurturing that it shows you. You know, I think being one with earth to a certain extent is very important. I think giving yourself that opportunity to experience that is a beautiful thing. So if you haven't done that, or you've never done it, because some people have literally never been to the desert, they've never been to the mountains, nothing like that, go do that. You will feel different. Allow yourself to be there. It's not about just going with the homies and making good memories, or with your family and laughing and this and that. It's not just about that. Give yourself moments alone in nature, and I promise you that shit will change you. It will shift you. You will know. You're going to think, if you're listening to this podcast right now, which, I mean, obviously you are, or if you're watching it, you're going to remember this exact moment of me telling you that. And when you're standing there surrounded by these trees, or you're out in the ocean, or you're out in the desert, it's going to hit you and be like, oh, damn, dude, this is what Rob was talking about. This is exactly what Rob was talking about. Or at the end of your day, maybe you just feel better. You feel so good. And you're like, this is what he was talking about. Maybe I did need this more than I thought. You know, it's the same thing. Like, people feel they feel lighter after they go to the beach. I think water has a very beautiful healing property to it. I think it has the ability to kind of wash us clean of multiple things. You know, it's kind of like after you've had a rough day and you go take a shower, you go jump in the bath, you get out and you feel re-energized, you feel different. I think water has a beautiful healing nature to it. And sometimes putting yourself again in that natural space, you go to the beach, you see how big the ocean is, you see how far the sand extends. You kind of like, I'm hella small right now, but I feel wrapped in whatever this is. So allow yourself to experience that. Check it out. Do it. I promise you guys, you won't regret it. If you don't do it very often, go do it more, because I know for myself, I need to do this a lot more, especially right now in this part of the journey that I'm on. I need to do that. I need to adventure more. I need to experience more of what brings me the purest form of joy, the purest form of love. I need to experience this more and as often as possible, without a doubt. And what I want to end on is I have this bit of advice. I heard it, I read it. I was like, you know what? That's it. That's the move. That's what it is. And the bit of advice is, the only thing you sometimes have control over is perspective. You don't have control over your situation, but you have a choice about how you view it. And one more time. The only thing you sometimes have control over is perspective. You don't have control over your situation, but you have a choice about how you view it. So I'll let you guys sit with that. I hope it hits a certain way, especially after listening to this podcast. I want you guys to step back, to look at things differently. Everything that you experience, shift your perspectives. Something happens that makes you upset, step back, slow down. Step back and slow down. Reassess, take a deep breath, react from there. A lot of the times, the emotions that we feel are based on the thoughts that we have. And a lot of those thoughts sometimes are not even real. They're based on situations that we've created. They're based on these scenarios that we've painted in our head, and we're just ready to react on that. But that's not really how you feel. If you sit with it for a minute and you kind of reassess, you'll be like, ooh, you know what? This is the proper response. This is it. This is what I need to say right now. When you're going through tough times, you're going through tough situations, step out of that. Look at it differently, right? You're going to go to funerals. You're going to attend things that are heart-wrenching, that just kind of break you down. Look at the other side of that. For example, you're at a funeral. Look at the switch side. I'm here right now. I'm alive. I'm breathing. I'm well. I'm healthy. I hope. And all I can do is create and give more love, create more memories, tell the people around them that I care for them, that I'm here for them. So shift your perspective, shift the way that you think about things, because it's going to change up the way you process a lot in your life. So I hope that you guys enjoyed today's episode. I know for myself, like, it feels a little heavy, but it feels good. I loved that I was able to talk to you guys about this. So thank you for sitting here with me. Thank you for listening. However you're taking in this episode, thank you guys. I appreciate you. I will see you next week. And again, if you guys want me to cover a certain topic, or you guys would like me to talk about certain things, please do not hesitate. Send me a DM, a text, a call, whatever, because I want to hear from you guys. I love incorporating you in all these conversations. So again, thank you guys for all your love, your support, your endless amounts of pushing forward. It means the world. This project isn't going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. So thank you guys. I appreciate y'all. And I'll see you next week.